Well, good afternoon, and I want to start by thanking our signer, Pamela Mitchell, for joining us today. This morning, I visited Sanitation Department crews who are on snow removal duty. The winter storm is certainly on everyone's minds, and I can tell you that there were a lot of plows on the front of trucks. There was a big snow melter ready to go if necessary. They had one plow that if we had 10 feet of snow, it would blast right through it, but I don't think we're going to need that one. But let me update you on what's being called Winter Storm Nemo and the city's preparations for it. The current forecast from the National Weather Service. Now, keep in mind, these are forecasts. This is a reasonably unpredictable storm. It could turn further northeast or it could stall and give us more precipitation. Right now, as you know, outside it is all rain. There really isn't any snow. Even when you look at the grass, it's pretty clean. But the heavy snow is supposed to come in later on. The National Weather Service says that this morning the snow started. It started to snow, turned to rain, back to snow this afternoon, likely to fall in a fast and heavy rate, their words, during much of the evening and overnight period, with the heaviest snow expected to begin between 3 and 7 p.m. tonight. And by the time the storm passes early Saturday afternoon, we're expecting to have accumulations of 10 to 14 inches across the 5 boroughs based on the latest National Weather Service, and higher local accommodations are possible. Now, all of that could change. The storm could move much further east faster, and we could have an awful lot less snow, which would be great. But we've got to prepare for the worst case. And this is what the National Weather Service says is the worst case. As widely reported, the storm is resulting from the merging of two low-pressure systems, one approaching from the west, the Chicago area, and one coming up the Atlantic coast from the North Carolina area. And largely because of the coastal northeaster, we'll see sustained winds of 10 to 30 miles an hour, gusts up to 40 or 50 miles an hour. And this combination of snow and high winds and the reduced visibility are hazards for travel, and it's why we remain under a blizzard warning through 1 p.m. on Saturday. As New Yorkers know all too well, high winds can also disrupt electrical service in neighborhoods with overhead lines as trees topple down or branches shear off trees and do serious damage. Let me just remind you, if you have a tree come down and there's a power line down, don't go near it. Don't touch it. Pick up the phone, call 311, and they'll tell you what to do, and we'll get a professional crew there to remove it. The power lines are dangerous, and every time we have a storm like this, or many times we do have tragedies occur. A final potentially hazardous element of this storm is some coastal flooding. It is likely to happen during high tide, which will wash up at the Bowery shortly after 7 p.m. and along the Long Island Sound shores of northern Queens and the Bronx several hours later. The reason it's much later there is that the water has to go around Montauk and come all the way down Long Island Sound before it hits northern Queens and the Bronx, whereas the water from the Battery comes straight in from the ocean. Many of the same communities that were inundated by Hurricane Sandy's tidal surge just about 100 days ago are likely to see some moderate coastal flooding this evening. It's likely to produce the kind of coastal flooding that can be expected in these areas during such storms, and people know how to deal with it. If your house has been damaged by Sandy and still without heat, call 311 and we'll be sure to find you shelter. And certainly if you are someone you see has symptoms like uncontrolled shivering or disorientation, that may very well be hypothermia, and hypothermia can be deadly. So anyone with these symptoms should get someplace warm immediately. Also, please do not use gas ovens or ranges to heat your homes. That can lead to carbon monoxide poisoning, which can be fatal. Now, as we do during all emergency weather conditions, our city has a plan of action for keeping New Yorkers safe, and we've already put that plan into motion. And I would like to describe a little bit about what our different city agencies are doing and stress some things that we would ask all New Yorkers to do. The first is stay off the city streets, stay out of your cars, and stay in your homes while the worst of the storm is on us. That's for your own protection during potentially hazardous outdoor conditions. It is why we've canceled all Friday after-school activities, including public school athletic league games. Saturday classes and activities at public schools have also been canceled. Staying off the streets will make it easier for city workers to clear the streets of snow so that emergency vehicles can use them. And any vehicles found to be blocking roadways or impeding the flow of traffic will be subject to towing at the owner's expense. And by keeping ourselves out of harm's way, we'll reduce the hazards our first responders have to confront as well. So that's double value to doing this. Also, there is no need to panic buying of gas for your cars. All indications are the gas supply is plentiful and deliveries will not be disrupted. Tonight, what's a good idea? Cook a meal, stay home, read a good book, watch a movie, just take it easy. Remember, there are a lot of people who are going to be out there shoveling the snow and trying to plow it to the side, and we just don't want to get in their ways. And also, if you're out there shoveling snow, be careful. Don't overexert yourself with that task. The snow can be very heavy snow, very wet snow, and you really can strain yourself or worse. Also, as I said this morning on my radio show, it's good to look at your neighbors who may need a little extra help getting through the next several days. And if you see someone homeless on the streets or in a public place, just pick up the phone, call 311. This is no night to be out in the elements, and we will send a staff right away to help that person. Last night, I did order all Department of Homeless Services staff to double their outreach efforts to protect unsheltered New Yorkers, and that will be true tonight as well. And during this high alert period, Homeless Services staff will check on vulnerable clients every 2 hours or 4 times per shift, and they're putting on an additional number of outreach vans in the streets to respond to 311 calls. Also, please use 911 wisely, only for genuine emergencies requiring a response from the police, firefighters, or emergency service vehicles. Use 311 for all other calls or inquiries to city agencies. We brought an additional 311 call takers to handle what we expect to be a higher than normal volume of calls. But if you want to know whether the plow is coming or whether schools are closed and that sort of thing, do not use 911. When you do it, then somebody with a real emergency can't get through, and they may suffer and may die. Let me walk through what city agencies are doing in response to the storm, starting with preparing to clear streets and highways of snow. City sanitation workers are on a full mobilization and have been since Thursday night. They're on 12-hour shifts. The sanitation department will deploy something like 1,700 snowplows and 65 front-end loaders. It also has 450 salt spreaders already deployed, and the department has made arrangements with private sector contractors to pull in more than 100 pieces of additional heavy equipment for cleaning residential streets. The sanitation department plows, as you know, are now GPS equipped, and New Yorkers can track the progress of snow removal in their neighborhood online at nyc.gov using the Plow NYC feature. I have used it myself. The way it basically works is you put in your address, and it's updated only once every half an hour, but we color code the streets when the plow goes down. It stays one color for the first hour, then it switches to another color, then to another color. And it really gives you what you need to know whether or not you've been plowed. At the sanitation garages, they have a much more sophisticated and hard-to-use version of that, where they can actually talk to and know where every single plow is, knowing the number of the plow, and you can look up the name of the driver and know how fast they're going and all that kind of information that's useful for managing the plowing and sanding fleet. But in terms of the public, we want something that's just simple and it does work. Plug in your number, in your address. Be careful to do it accurately, and you will find out when the last time a plow went down your street. The Department of Parks, Environmental Protection, and Transportation, those three departments are supplementing, you should know, the snow removal effort with their own equipment. The Transportation Department also has 17 anti-icing vehicles working on the roadways on the East River bridges. And in addition, the NYPD has a fleet of 95 tow trucks on the streets and prepared to remove stalled vehicles with additional tow trucks being deployed by the Departments of Transportation and Parks, and we have also 31 private tow trucks included in this force. So we've got a whole system of pulling together all the resources, all the tow trucks, and we certainly think we have enough. And finally, to assist with snow removal, street cleaning, and parking meter regulations will be suspended citywide today and tomorrow. Tonight, the fire department will have 100 additional ambulances on the streets. They'll have snow chains on their tires and snow removal equipment and other special equipment on board. And because snow conditions can make fighting fires even more difficult, the FDNY has added an additional firefighter to each of their engine units, starting with tonight's tour of duty. Because of the likelihood of moderate coastal flooding, the FDNY also has pre-positioned a number of its waterborne rescue units in the city's low-lying coastal areas. And the NYPD has emergency service units in those areas as well, and they'll be beefing up police patrols in those neighborhoods. The police department will also be putting additional highway patrol units on duty to help stranded motorists. But what would be great is if you left work early today, got home, parked your car in a legal parking place, and if you have to go around, use mass transit. What we don't want are cars getting stuck in the middle of the road. That keeps us from plowing, and it just, if you'll pardon the pun, snowballs the problem. We've got to get to you. You've got to get home safely, rush hour, but get your car off the street or to the side of the road where it's parked, and that will help everybody. As to mass transit, we've spent a lot of time talking to the state agency. The MTA believes that underground subway service will be operating close to normal throughout the rush hour today, and after that, some trains will be stored underground for safety, and much of the rest will offer local service only. It's also likely that MTA bus service will be reduced as the snow intensifies and for the duration of the storm. For example, they will not be operating these big articulated buses. They're just so big that the wind can push them around. So the bus service may be curtailed to some extent. If there is a subway where you're going, I would suggest that you take that. The MTA has also put on extra commuter trains ahead of the normal evening rush hour and is strongly urging their riders to use them. Northbound Amtrak service from Penn Station has also been suspended because of the storm. If you look at the weather map, there's going to be an awful lot more snow predicted, at least it is predicted to be greater, north and east of where we are as you go towards Massachusetts. Our human services agencies are also responding to the storm, as you would expect. By the end of this afternoon, all Department for the Aging home-delivered meal programs will have delivered extra meals to last through the weekend in case we can't get there tomorrow or Sunday. Over 15,000 seniors will receive this service. All senior centers will be open until 3 p.m. today. However, we are encouraging New Yorkers to stay at home if possible, especially our seniors. And senior centers will be closed tomorrow, sad day. So senior centers closed tomorrow. Don't go up and go down and expect to find them open. Stay at home is a good thing, a good rule. The Department of Buildings has also issued an advisory warning to property owners and building contractors to secure their construction sites and tie down loose materials and equipment. Inspectors are performing spot checks to make sure workers are taking the proper precautions, and all permits issued to film crews by the mayor's office and media entertainment Saturday has been suspended. So we'll not be making any movies. It just gets in the way of everything else. We'll provide additional information about this storm as it's available. For the latest details on city services and alerts, you can visit our severe weather webpage at nyc.gov. You can sign up for nyc.gov for notify NYC text and email alerts, and you can follow NYC.gov on Twitter and Facebook. You can also send a text to 311 about any snow issues. The number to text is 311-NYC or 311-692. And for instance, if you text about a particular street that has yet to be plowed, a 311 representative will make sure that information is passed along to the sanitation department. But remember, we do the primary streets first, then we do the secondaries, then the tertiaries, and on the nyc.gov, if you go to Plow NYC, you can see whether your street, how your street is is designated primary, secondary, or tertiary. NYC.gov can also tell you how to volunteer for snow removal duties tomorrow, if you are interested in doing that. And I'd just like to summarize for our Spanish-speaking New Yorkers what's going on here. La tormenta Nemo puede traer casi 2 pulgadas de nieve a nuestra sociedad hoy y mañana temprano. Le pedimos a todos los neoyorqueños que se mantengan en sus casas. Esto ayudará el Departamento de Sanidad limpia la nieve de las calles. And with that, be happy to take some questions if anybody has any. Parking meters suspended tomorrow, not today. I was wrong on that. Okay. Parking meters, you got to feed them today. You don't have to feed them tomorrow, but alternate side of the street is suspended today as well as tomorrow, just to make things more confusing for everybody. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, can you talk about how the city's experience with Hurricane Sandy is shaping this response? Is there anything you're doing differently?
You know, we certainly found out with Sandy that fire, police, sanitation, parks, transportation, buildings, the mayor's office of people with disabilities all know how to work together. They got a great experience in doing that. I think that since it's fresh in their minds, there's certainly some benefit in that. I think everybody's gung-ho. They take great pride in what they did. Hopefully this storm will not exercise them as much or use as many of the resources. We don't think it's going to be that big a deal, but we're ready for anything. And I think we showed the communications channels, the coordination channels worked exactly as the way we had planned. And I take great pride in that. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Rich Lamb, WCBS. Do you think that, you mentioned Sandy, do you think that New Yorkers and maybe people in the region are suffering from a little bit of storm shock? In other words, people went out and they were gas lines last night, and they're thinking about the power.
Well, I think in some senses that's good. Getting ready. We always recommend that you have a go bag and that you know what to do if you lose power, where to go to get shelter, and how to use what's the difference between 911 and 311 and NYC.gov. I don't know whether the climate is changing such that we're going to get lots of storms. There's a lot of theories that is in fact the case, and we've certainly had 2 or 3. We also have, in all fairness, had very little snow for the last 2 years. So, and it's been warmer than normal. So you can look at the other side. It's on our minds because we're here today and because Sandy is so fresh in our minds. And Sandy really was something that was unique and was devastating to an awful lot of people. I don't think this storm is likely to do that, but we have to be prepared just in case it is. Yes.
After the 2010 post-Christmas snowstorm, there were a lot of concerns that you did not announce an emergency and had to apologize afterwards because cars got stuck on the road. Are there any plans?
We do not. Here's what happens when you announce an emergency. I mean, there are a lot of criticisms but a lot of them had nothing to do with what really happened. We don't want people moving their cars. If we declare an emergency, people will have to go out and move all their cars off the roads, off the snow emergency roads. We don't want that. That's when they can get stuck. And that's when the people out there who, on the way home from parking their car, can get hit by another car or something. Park your car in a legal space. The forecast for snow is not such that we need extra room. The plows will be able to get down the street as long as you're parked on the side. If you get stuck in the middle of the street, that's what cascades into more and more problems as people get stuck behind others, and then they create as much of a problem. So we didn't have no intention at this point of calling for an emergency or signing an executive order. If we needed to clear a street, we have the legal right to do so. I can order it, and we have tow trucks, and we just do it. But that's not something that we think here. We did not back then have enough plows, enough tow trucks. We have a tow truck task force that has pulled together the tow trucks from all the different agencies. Having said that, there was a very unique thing. People came home that time from Christmas vacation, and they got stuck in the middle of the jam. If we can get you home tonight, we don't think that there's any likely to have that happening, and tomorrow is a Saturday when traffic should be lighter and we can get the plowing done. And so by morning, I would expect most streets to be more than passable. But there's no reason to declare an emergency. And as I said before, there's no reason to rush to the gas station. But in spite of people rushing to the gas station in the last day or so, the supplies are very adequate. We've checked with all of the big distributors, and there's no reason to think it was a problem. Yes, sir.
Mayor, will non-essential city employees be allowed to leave early?
No, the city has to be here to serve the public, and we would like all private sector workers to go home a little bit early, but the city workers are all going to be here. It just gets very difficult to decide what's essential, what isn't, and you never know what's going to come up, and I would not want to be in a situation where we'd sent some of our people home, and it turns out, even though I hadn't expected it, they were ones that were really needed to provide service. We work for the public, and we're going to keep doing that, yes?
Are there any chances of evacuations, especially in the city?
No, we don't anticipate. The tide should be a foot or two above, but nothing like what happened with Sandy, where you're talking about 10 and 12 feet above high water mark, so we don't anticipate anything like that. Miss?
What's your biggest concern as the storm hits?
My biggest concern is that people go out and walk, slip, fall into traffic. They don't, with low visibility and high winds, that somebody turns a corner in the car and doesn't see a pedestrian. We have limited service on the ferries, both the Staten Island ferry and the private ferries, and they're going to operate if they can. Winds are a big problem for ferries, and visibility a big problem. And so, we're not sure when this rain turns to snow. We're not sure how long it's going to last. You could find out tomorrow morning we wake up and we had 3 to 5 inches instead of 10 to 14 inches. There's just no ways to predict. But I think just the danger of pedestrians being out there is the real thing that's we've got to worry about. Yes, sir. Last question.
Mr. Mayor, you have advised people to stay at home, maybe cook a meal, watch a movie. What do you plan to do? You got the red sweater on.
I'm going to stay. I will be home tonight, you can rest assured. Will I cook or get something from the Greek diner around the corner? I haven't thought about that yet. I've got to talk to the powers that be and see what we're going to do for dinner. I happen to be lucky and live in a neighborhood where within a block there's 4 or 5 restaurants, and I'm either going to do that or eat something at home, and I plan to catch up on my sleep. Next thing I'm going to do is also run on the running machine. Good to talk to you. Thank you. I think the last message is you can't take nature too lightly. Hopefully it won't be anything drastic, and it's certainly not going to be a Hurricane Sandy. But that doesn't mean you can't get badly hurt or killed if you're not careful. So, and help others. Thank you.